The snow fell softly on Christmas Eve, dusting the old stone church with white and casting a peaceful glow through the stained glass windows. Inside, the congregation was singing carols, their voices carrying faintly through the heavy wooden doors. Outside, on the cold steps, a young woman sat alone, shivering in a thin dress that offered no protection against the winter night. Mira had been homeless for 3 months now, ever since she'd fled an abusive relationship with nothing but the clothes on her back. At 26, she had once had dreams, a degree in social work half completed, ambitions to help others, a belief that hard work would lead to a good life. Now, she just tried to survive each day, moving from shelter to shelter, eating at soup kitchens, avoiding the man who had made her life a nightmare. The church steps seemed safer than the streets tonight. The warmth from inside seeped through the doors when people entered or left, and the location felt protected somehow, sacred. Mira wasn't religious, but she found comfort in the idea that maybe, in a place like this, she might be watched over. She was so lost in her thoughts, her arms wrapped around herself against the cold, that she didn't notice the church doors open or the small figure that slipped out. Myra looked up, startled to see a little girl standing in front of her. The child was perhaps 2 or 3 years old, wearing a red wool coat with white fur trim, like a tiny Mrs. Claus. Her blonde hair was pulled into small pigtails, and she regarded Mira with a frank, uninhibited curiosity that only small children possessed. "Hello?" Mira said cautiously, looking around for the child's parents. "Are you lost? Where's your mommy or daddy?" "Inside, singing." The little girl tilted her head, studying Mira's face. "Why are you sad?" "I'm not sad, sweetheart. Just cold." "You look sad. Your eyes are sad." The little girl stepped closer, her small boots leaving prints in the fresh snow. "When I'm sad, Daddy gives me hugs. I think you need a hug." Before Myra could respond, the child wrapped her small arms around Myra's neck, pressing her warm little body against Myra's frozen frame. The embrace was so unexpected, so pure and unconditional, that something broke inside Myra. Tears she had been holding back for months suddenly streamed down her face. She hugged the child back gently, careful not to squeeze too hard, feeling the warmth and innocence radiating from this tiny person who had decided a stranger needed comfort and had simply provided it without hesitation or judgment. Pulling back and looking satisfied. "Better." "Yes," Mira whispered, wiping her eyes. "Much better. Thank you, Chloe." A man's voice cut through the quiet night, sharp with worry. Mira looked up to see a figure emerging from the church, tall and well-dressed in a gray suit, his face creased with concern as he scanned the area for the child. "Chloe, you can't just run off like that. I was terrified when I turned around and you were gone." "I'm here, Daddy." "I was giving hugs." Chloe pointed at Mira. She was sad and cold. "I helped." The man reached them and scooped Chloe into his arms, relief evident in his posture. Then he actually looked at Mira, and his expression shifted from relief to concern. "I'm sorry if she bothered you. She has a habit of deciding she needs to help people without asking first." "She didn't bother me. She was very kind." Mira tried to smile, but she knew how she must look dirty, thin, clearly homeless, crying on church steps on Christmas Eve. "You have a sweet daughter." The man was quiet for a moment, taking in her appearance, the inadequate clothing, the bare feet she had tucked under herself, trying to keep warm. Mira waited for the judgment, the discomfort, the polite excuse to leave. She had grown used to people looking through her or away from her, as if homelessness was contagious and the contact might spread it. But instead, the man sat down on the steps beside her, still holding Chloe in his lap. "I'm James," he said. "This escape artist is Chloe. She's 2.5 and absolutely certain she knows better than everyone about everything." "I do know better," Chloe said with complete conviction. "I'm Mira." "Mira, it's freezing out here. How long have you been sitting on these steps? A few hours. The shelter was full tonight. Christmas Eve is busy. Do you have somewhere to go? Someone to call? Mira shook her head, embarrassed. I'll be okay. There's a 24-hour diner a few blocks away that lets people sit if they buy coffee. I have enough for coffee. James was quiet, clearly wrestling with something. Chloe, oblivious to the adult tension, was playing with the button on his coat, singing a Christmas carol to herself. I have a proposal, James said finally. And I want you to know it comes with no strings attached and no expectations. My company owns a small apartment building downtown. We keep a few units furnished for employees relocating to the city. One of them is empty right now. You could stay there tonight, get warm, have a real bed, just for tonight, if that's all you want. Or longer, if you need time to get back on your feet. Myra stared at him. You don't know me. I could be anyone. I could be dangerous. Chloe decided you needed a hug. Her instincts are usually pretty good. James smiled slightly. And honestly, you don't look dangerous. You look like someone who's had a very hard time and could use some help. I'm in a position to offer that help. It seems like a pretty straightforward equation. Why would you do this? Rich people don't just help random homeless women. Some do. And I have my reasons. James's expression grew more serious. My wife died 18 months ago. Cancer, fast, and aggressive. She was gone within 6 months of diagnosis. Before she died, she made me promise something. She said that I'd be tempted to close myself off, to focus only on work and Chloe, and never let anyone new into our lives. She told me to fight that instinct, to stay open to connection, to look for opportunities to help others, because that's what would keep me human. He looked at Myra directly. I've been failing at that promise. I've been exactly what she feared, closed off, isolated, using Chloe as an excuse to avoid engagement with the world. Tonight, when Chloe ran out here and hugged you, I felt something shift. Maybe this is the universe telling me to start keeping my promise. Mira didn't know what to say. This was so far outside her experience of the past 3 months, outside her understanding of how the world worked, that she couldn't quite process it. Just tonight, she said finally. I'll stay just tonight, and then I'll figure out my next steps, however long you need. They drove to the apartment in James's car. Chloe chattering the entire way about Christmas and Santa and the cookies they had left out at home. The apartment was small, but clean and warm, with basic furniture and a fully stocked kitchen. There's food in the refrigerator and pantry, James said. Toiletries in the bathroom. Clean clothes in the bedroom. We keep some basics on hand for guests. Please, make yourself at home. I'll check in tomorrow, if that's okay. Thank you. I don't know how to repay you for this. You don't have to repay me. Just take care of yourself tonight. That's enough. After James and Chloe left, Myra stood in the center of the warm apartment and sobbed. She cried for the months of fear and cold and hunger. She cried for the life she had lost and the dreams she had abandoned. She cried for the unexpected kindness of a little girl who had decided a stranger needed a hug. Then she took a hot shower. The first real shower she'd had in weeks. She put on clean clothes that were slightly too big, but felt like luxury. She ate food from the refrigerator without rationing, without counting every calorie against how long she might need to make it last. And for the first time in 3 months, she slept in a real bed, warm and safe and not afraid. James returned the next day, Christmas morning, with Chloe in tow. The little girl was wearing new pajamas and carrying a stuffed reindeer she'd received from Santa. Merry Christmas, Chloe announced, running into the apartment and hugging Mira's legs. I brought you a present. She held out a candy cane, slightly bent from being in her pocket. Thank you, Chloe. This is the best present I've gotten in a long time. James hung back, letting Chloe do most of the talking. I hope you slept well. It's better than I have in months. James, I need to tell you something. I wasn't just randomly homeless. I was running from someone, my ex-boyfriend. He was abusive, and when I finally left, I had to leave everything behind to get away safely. I've been moving around, staying in different shelters, trying to make sure he can't find me. Are you still in danger? I don't know. Maybe. He's persistent when he wants something, and he views me as his property. James's expression hardened. Then, we need to make sure you're protected. I know lawyers who specialize in domestic violence cases, security professionals who can assess threats. If you're willing to accept help, I can connect you with resources that will make you safer. Why do you keep offering to help me? You've already done so much, 'cause Chloe was right. You needed a hug. And you need more than just a hug. You need support and resources and people in your corner. I have the ability to provide those things. It costs me very little to help you, but it could change your entire life. That's not charity, Mira. That's just being a decent human being. Over the following weeks, Myra accepted help. She worked with the lawyers James connected her to, obtaining a restraining order against her ex. She accessed services for domestic violence survivors, getting counseling to process the trauma she'd experienced. She moved into the apartment officially, with James arranging for her to pay a token rent that preserved her dignity while being well within her means. And slowly, tentatively, she started to rebuild. She returned to school, finishing her social work degree with James's encouragement and support. She got a job at a nonprofit that helped other domestic violence survivors, using her own experience to connect with clients in ways that felt meaningful and authentic. Through it all, James and Chloe remained constant presences in her life. What had started as a rescue became a friendship, and what became a friendship gradually evolved into something deeper. I didn't expect this, Mira told James one evening, about a year after they'd met, as they sat together watching Chloe play in the park. When your daughter hugged me on those church steps, I thought I was at the end of everything. I thought my life was effectively over. I never imagined I'd end up here with a degree, a job I love, people who care about me. Chloe saw something in you that night. She saw someone worth helping. She's remarkable. You've raised her well. Her mother raised her well. I'm just trying not to mess it up. James paused. Maria would have loved you, you know? She had the same instinct Chloe has. She could see people's potential, even when they couldn't see it themselves. She would have insisted on helping you, even before Chloe ran out of that church. Do you think she'd approve? Of us, I mean, of whatever this is becoming. I think she'd be thrilled. She wanted me to stay open to connection, to find someone who could be part of our family. She wanted Chloe to have a mother figure, someone who would love her and help raise her. I think Maria sent you to us, in whatever way the universe arranges these things. That's a beautiful thought. It's what I believe. That Christmas Eve, that moment when Chloe decided you needed a hug, that was Maria, working through our daughter, making sure we found each other. They married 2 years later, in a small ceremony at the same church where they'd met. Chloe, now 4.5, served as flower girl and took her responsibilities extremely seriously. This is where I found Mommy, Chloe told anyone who would listen, pointing to the steps outside. She was cold and sad, so I hugged her, and then she came to live with us. And now, she's my mommy forever, in her vows. Myra spoke about that night. I was sitting on those steps, convinced I had nothing left. I was cold and hungry and terrified, and I had given up hope that my life would ever be anything but survival. And then, a little girl in a red coat walked up to me and said, I think you need a hug. That hug changed everything. Not because it was magic, but because it reminded me that I was still a person worthy of care and comfort. It reminded me that there was still kindness in the world, even when my own experience had convinced me otherwise. Chloe's hug opened a door, and James walked through it, offering help I didn't think I deserved, and patience I didn't think existed. I'm not the same person I was on those church steps. I've grown and healed and become someone I'm proud of. But I got here because two people saw me when I was invisible and decided I was worth seeing. Thank you, Chloe, for that hug. Thank you, James, for everything that came after. James's vows spoke about keeping promises. My wife, Maria, made me promise to stay open to the world, to look for chances to help others. When Chloe ran out to hug a stranger on the church steps, I knew that was my chance. What I didn't know was that in helping Mira, she would also help us. She brought light back into our home. She gave Chloe a mother who loves her fiercely. She taught me that it's possible to love again without diminishing what came before. Maria sent us Myra. I believe that with my whole heart, and I promise to spend the rest of my life being worthy of that gift. Years later, Mira became the director of the nonprofit where she'd started as a caseworker. She created programs specifically for women fleeing domestic violence, helping them access housing, legal services, counseling, and job training. Her personal experience made her effective and credible in ways that couldn't be taught. I know what it's like to have nothing, she would tell clients who were skeptical of help. I know what it's like to sit in the cold, convinced your life is over. But I also know that one moment of kindness can change everything. Let me be that moment for you. And whenever she told her story, she always started with the same image, a little girl in a red coat, walking up to a stranger on church steps and deciding that what the world needed was a hug. I think you need a hug, Chloe had said, with the simple certainty of a child who hadn't yet learned that adults build walls around their compassion. She had been right. Mira had needed a hug. She had needed someone to see her humanity when she could barely see it herself. She had needed a door to open when every other door had closed. And that hug, given freely by a 2-year-old who simply wanted to help, had changed 2 lives forever. The woman who received it, Kay, and the family who opened their hearts to someone in need. Sometimes the most profound transformations begin with the smallest gestures: a child's hug, an offer of shelter, the willingness to see someone else's pain and respond with compassion rather than indifference. These tiny moments ripple outward, changing lives in ways we can never fully predict. Mira had sat on those church steps believing she was invisible, worthless, beyond help. But Chloe had seen her clearly, seen her suffering, and responded with the most natural thing in the world: an offer of comfort. That's what changed everything. Not money or resources or professional connections, though those helped later. What changed everything was being seen, being touched, being reminded that she was still human and still worthy of care. That's the gift we can all give each other: the willingness to see people who have become invisible, the courage to offer comfort when it's easier to look away, the faith that small kindnesses matter, even when we can't see how they'll ripple outward. I think you need a hug. 4 words from a toddler that saved a life and built a family. 4 words that prove sometimes the youngest among us understand what really matters better than all the adults with their complicated reasons for not getting involved. If this story reminded you that small acts of compassion can transform lives, and that children often see what adults have learned to overlook, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in the power of kindness, and subscribe to our channel for more stories about unexpected connections and the courage to help others. Leave a comment below about a time when a simple gesture changed your life, or when you were the one brave enough to reach out to someone who needed comfort. Your stories remind us all that we're capable of being the moment of kindness that changes everything.